Hemos seguido con gran
With great consternation and emotion, we have followed the very grave events in the Middle East. In that context, Cuba supports the resumption of this 10th extraordinary emergency session. The main priority for the General Assembly at this moment should be to bring a cessation of violence and the administration of urgent humanitarian assistance for the suffering Palestinian people. We demand an immediate ceasefire, and we demand an end to the bellicose rhetoric and stop the forced removal of Palestinians from the land that by right they belong to. Cuba reiterates its deep-seated concern for the resumed violence in the region, which is a result of 75 years of Israeli practices of occupation, illegal occupation, and settlements, in flagrant violation of the inalienable rights of the Palestinian people on their own land. This is also the result of the protracted lack of respect of the principles and purposes of the Charter of the United Nations and international law, including many relevant resolutions of the United Nations. In the midst of the current humanitarian disaster in occupied Palestinian territory of Gaza and West Bank, Cuba reiterates its solidarity, which is unwavering, with the Arab and Palestinian causes. We, in the most energetic terms, condemn the assassination of civilians, especially women, children, and humanitarian workers of the United Nations, through bombing, indiscriminate bombing of the people in Gaza, and the destruction of houses, infrastructure, civilian infrastructure, and hospital. Cuba rejects and has always rejected the death of civilians and innocent people for all parties involved in this conflict, without making any difference of ethnic, faith, or nationality differences, as referenced by the distinguished Vice Minister of Jordan on behalf of the Arab group. We also condemn the cutting off of water services, electricity, and fuel to the people of Gaza, which considerably worsens the already precarious humanitarian situation, which is a result of the embargo on Gaza Strip, which in itself is a flagrant violation of international humanitarian law. Nothing justifies such actions, which are a collective punishment, grave violations of international humanitarian law, and war crimes and crimes against humanity. The impunity with which the Israeli government acts can only be explained given its confidence that it will not be held accountable for its acts and that it has the support of the government of the United States. It is shameful that once again the Security Council has been unable to fulfill its mandate. It's regrettable that the United States has, in the Security Council, vetoed 46 resolutions related to the situation in the Middle East, including those on the Palestinian question, and the most recent was just a few days ago. An end must be put to the double standards, selectivity, and political manipulation, which makes vulnerable the cause of international peace and security and jeopardizes it. We demand the government of the United States not continue paralyzing the Security Council, using the anti-democratic and obsolete power of veto in order to protect the occupying powers' actions. It's time for the Security Council to fulfill its functions and uphold its own resolutions on the Palestinian question. We reiterate once again our vigorous rejection of the Israeli occupation of the Palestinian territory, including East Jerusalem, along with the illegal policy of settlement of Israel and all of its settlement policies. We condemn the latent annexation plans of the Jordan Valley and other parts of the West Bank and Eastern Jerusalem annexation plans. We think it's urgent to mobilize, under the coordination of the United Nations, humanitarian emergency relief in order to attend to the catastrophic situation in Gaza, and we call upon all involved parties to facilitate the entry and distribution of this vital humanitarian aid. We call on member states to guaranteeing sufficient, predictable, and sustained funding for UNRWA. It is now more important than ever that we provide all possible support to UNRWA so it can fulfill its important work on the ground. We stress the unavoidable need for a broad, lasting, and fair solution to the conflict between Palestine and Israel based on two states which are independent and which allow the Palestinian people to exercise their right to free self-determination and to have an independent sovereign state within the pre-1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital, and to also guarantee the right of return of the refugees. Cuba supports and will contribute to the extent that it can to all international legitimate efforts to put an end to the massacre which has been taking place already for 20 days. Every moment of inaction will cost the lives of more innocent people. We must act immediately. Thank you.
This has been the Nod News Network. Transmission complete.